How is it going, everybody? Today, new Foundations released, so I figured I would start off doing something a little different than I normally do and do some pack openings. Now, I didn't sink a whole bunch of money into this set, as I often don't, since I don't feel that it's necessary. Most of what I do playing Magic is just entirely off of what I can get in-game, so I did save up gold and save up gems during the previous set release, the Duskmourn set, and this is what I came out with that I decided to get with my gold and my gems with the release of this new Foundation set. So, I went for quality over quantity, I guess you could say. I decided to sink most of my investment into Mythic packs for this set. I do have some gold packs, which I'll also open, but this was pretty much all my purchases just outright as soon as the release happened. And I waited to open them till now so that I could open them with everybody. I'm going to start with the standard packs, the regular packs, and then I'll move on to the mythic packs, and I'll do the golden packs last. I'm only saving them for last because they'll be a mix of different things, but and I am going to open them pretty slowly. I'm not going to hit open all and go through them too quickly because I am curious to see the new cards in the set. I haven't looked at a lot of it yet. I've seen some spoilers and stuff, but since there wasn't a pre-release, I didn't get really big into watching what was coming out before the set release. I know there's a lot of reprints. I did see the new starter decks released, so I've looked through a little bit of the cards. I am absolutely excited, so excited to look at the different vampires and stuff, because those are kind of my bread and butter. It's where I started with Magic. Well, I started with Return to Ravnica with the Rakdos set, and loved it. And then as I started playing more, I started leaning more and more into playing Modern and playing like mono black vampires. I did play some with Rakdos vampires. And more recently, since I've been playing on Arena, I've been playing Orzhov vampires, all of which got a little bit of love in this. So there's some cards that I was so distraught were not on Arena when I first started playing it, that have been released now with the reprints, and I'm excited to see what I get and what I don't. But I'll go ahead and jump into this. Let's start with just the regular Foundations packs. Okay. Now, I did see that there were elves, including some Golgari potential elf stuff. I didn't play elves much myself and previously, but it does look like there is a black elf here, so there may be some potential there. You got a pirate, interesting, pretty expensive one, Exsanguinate. Got a different alchemy card here from the original. Let's see what a rare is. Krenko, that's pretty cool. I don't know if this is a reprint or a new version of a Krenko, but I didn't know there was going to be a Krenko in this set. Tap, create X 1/1 red goblin creature tokens, where X is the number of goblins you control, so that's pretty powerful if goblins are viable. And there's another goblin right here, so I don't see why they wouldn't be. That's pretty fun. Let's see what we get next. Another goblin. I did see this card. I don't know much about it, but I know it's a devil, which is usually fairly rare to find. I'm pretty excited for that. Let's see here. 3/2 with Death Touch and Raid at the beginning of your end step. If you attacked this turn, each opponent loses 3 life unless that player sacrifices a non-land permanent of their choice or discards a card. So that's pretty cool. A 3-drop 3/2 isn't amazing, but it has Death Touch, and the raid ability seems very nice, actually, so that's pretty fun. Let's see our rare. Got a white rare, Giada Font of Hope. I think this is a reprint. That sounds like a familiar card to me. Legendary creature, angel, flying vigilance. Each other angel you control enters with an additional 1/1 counter on it for each angel you already control, and you can tap it to add 1 white, and you can spend this mana only to cast angels. Well, this seems like if you're playing a angel tribal deck, this seems truly fantastic, like a really, really good card. I don't know that I'll ever get into it, because I don't play much mono white, and I haven't historically messed with angels too much, but that seems like a really good card. Okay, let's see what we got here. We got 2 face-down cards. Looks like one might be a mythic or something, I suppose. We got a cat. I did see that there were a lot of cats in this set, so that's kind of cute. When this creature enters, draw a card. That's a really good card, too. I wish it was a 1-drop, but it'd be better than a common if it was. Burglar Rat. I have seen this card, but I don't know much about it. 2-drop 1/1. When this creature enters, each opponent discards a card. That's okay, but not great. Juggernaut. 4-drop 5/3. Attacks each turn if able. Can't be blocked by walls. That's kind of cool. An instant Goblin Surprise, so more leaning into goblins. There's a devil next to this too, I see, but choose one creatures you control, get +2/+0 until end of turn, or create 2 1/1 red goblin creature tokens. That's not bad. Not bad at all, especially with Krenko coming back or being released in this. We got Sower of Chaos, a devil, 4/3 for 4. Target creature can't block this turn. It's not a tap ability, so that's actually fairly viable, especially since you'll already have mana to cast or to do the ability the turn after playing this, generally, because you have to pay 4 to play it. So that's not bad, actually. Let's see what this is. Mossborn Hydra. So we got a new Hydra. Those are fun and cool, and not a lot of them exist in the sets already, so... Because I think there's, what, Vaultborn... Or no, there's, well, there's the Hydra that gets +1/+1 for however much you pay, and when it dies you get... treasure tokens, the green one, and then there's the flying Hydra that is +1/+1 for however much you pay in for it, and it has flying and haste. I think those are the only two that I know of, but maybe there are more. But that's cool too. Let's see what we got here. Chroma's Memorial. 7-drop legendary artifact. Creatures you control have flying, first strike, vigilance, trample, haste, and protection from black and red. Well, I mean, it is 7, so that's a little bit hard to get out on the battlefield, but that's a crazy, crazy bunch of abilities, obviously. Let's see what we get next. Alright, Evolving Wilds has been printed again, because we haven't seen that enough. Instant flying. Is this another elf? It is, so they're more leaning into elves. Human cleric. Another goblin card. Let's read this one. Goblin Negotiation deals X damage to target creature. Create a number of 1/1 red goblin creature tokens equal to the amount of excess damage dealt that way. And it's pay into. Okay, so that could be really fun too. Goblins look like they're getting a lot of interesting stuff playable in this set, and that's really exciting. I'm pretty sure this is a reprint. Pretty sure I've seen this before. Destroy target artifact, enchantment, or creature with power 4 or greater. Let's see what our rare is. Looks like a Drakuseth. Might be saying that wrong. Maw of Flames. Very expensive red dragon, legendary creature. Flying, whenever Drakuseth attacks, it deals 4 damage to any target and 3 damage to each of up to 2 other targets. 7/7. So this one's a big, beefy creature. And actually looks super fun. I don't know what I would possibly make this in. Probably something that goes along with, like, for me anyway, if I was thinking of how to do this, you're looking more at like Reanimator or maybe something with Breach the Multiverse. Maybe something along those lines. Those are the most viable ways that I could see this card being played. Of course, you could also potentially do Ramp or something along those lines too. Got a rare wild card. I love those. Jungle Hollow. Lots of lands coming back or being printed. I got like one of each of the rare lands from the starter decks or something like that, so that's interesting. I saw this got reprinted too. This card will be forever in the game. Macabre Waltz. Return up to 2 target creature cards from your graveyard to your hand, then discard a card. It's kind of meh. Grow from the Ashes. Search your library for a basic land card, put it onto the battlefield, then shuffle. If the spell was kicked instead, search your library for 2 basic land cards, put them onto the battlefield, and then shuffle. That's pretty nice for 5. That's not bad at all. Not great for 3, but for 5, that's pretty great. And then we have a mythic here, Sire of 7 Deaths. It is an Eldrazi, so I guess more Eldrazi's were printed for standard. First strike, Vigilance, Menace, 7-drop, 7/7. It's got Trample, Reach, Lifelink, and Ward for pay 7 life. So this thing is another just big, dangerous, scary creature. It gets out onto the battlefield, and then you are going to have a hard time dealing with it. I guess it is a little small for an Eldrazi in my mind, being a 7/7, but all those abilities are fantastic. And this sort of thing would actually be really fun. I don't know if you guys are familiar There's Urborg Scavengers. I don't know if it's still standard legal or whatever, but if you have somebody playing Urborg Scavengers and this is in the graveyard, oh gosh, you just activated every ability on that thing. Alright, so this is the card that I was like, oh, I need all of them, please, thank you. This isn't even a rare, but I absolutely loved Vampire Nighthawk. When I first started playing Magic, through most of my time playing Magic, and when I first got on Arena, I was so sad this card wasn't available to play. I didn't see it in the list of playable cards at all. So this being printed in this set, I'll just let you know, this is the only card that I already have a playset of on Arena that I looked at and I was like, oh yeah, I need that. So I will use this card. I will probably put it in a lot of decks. I will probably be making vampire decks, definitely, and this card is going to be a staple in pretty much anything I have that has black going forward. I can almost guarantee it. I adore the Vampire Nighthawk from use. Doesn't sound great as a 3-drop 2/3, but it has Flying, Death Touch, and Lifelink. This card is absolutely fun. It is so good, or has been in my experience. Got a giant that has landfall that creates elves. That could be very, very fun. Landfall is totally viable right now, and you mix that with the fact that elves are in existence right now, especially with Golgari being potentially the option, this could be really good. Got some zombies and skeletons. Zombies and skeletons both look extremely viable from this set too, which I'm excited for. This is really expensive, so I don't think I would ever use it. Ravenous Amulet. Pay 1, tap, sacrifice a creature, draw a card, and put a soul counter on this artifact. Activate only as a sorcery, so you're looking at potentially 3 mana turn 1. If you played this and tried to do that, it has a 4-cost tap ability, sacrifice the amulet. Each opponent loses life equal to the number of soul counters on this. So this card could absolutely see some play in Rakdos Sacrifice or something along those lines. Seems interesting. I like the ability to draw cards, sacrificing creatures with like an Urbrask's Forge or something like that out on the battlefield is totally viable with this thing. 3 mana on playing it. If you want to use it on the turn that you play it is totally viable. And even using this in something other than standard I think would be doable in the Rakdos Sacrifice or other form of sacrifice focused deck. Let's check out the rare. We got an Azorius card. Looks like Kaikar Zephyr Awakener. Probably pronouncing it wrong. I don't know the names of any of these things, and I'm not familiar with all the cards. Even reprints I probably am not all familiar with. So it has flying. It's a 3/4 for 4. Whenever you cast a non-creature spell, choose one, exile another target creature you control, return that card to the battlefield under its owner's control at the beginning of the next end step, or create a 1/1 white spirit creature token with flying. So seems like this could be a blink deck type card. Just the ability to populate tokens can be helpful too. I know tokens have been extremely popular since Duskmourn came out. I myself have made several token decks that are super fun. So you could potentially play an Azorius token deck, something maybe using Porcelain Gallery or something with this and still have a lot of fun. Very potentially doable, I imagine. But I'm not much of an Azorius player myself. I usually lean away from blue, or if I do play it, it's for Dimir. So I don't know about it. Which I saw, there was that Abomination or whatever that's back from Dimir. That was, I think, something that existed back when I played Return to Ravnica. So, I haven't gotten one yet, but I look forward to seeing it too. Alright, got some more cards here. More Gutless Plunderer, more Burglar Rats. Ambush Wolf has Flash, could be interesting, but it's only a 4/2, so I don't love it. Goldvein Pickaxe sounds familiar. I think I've seen this card before. 2-drop equipment, equip for 1. Still viable, that cost is not expensive. Equipped creature gets +1/+1, and whenever equipped creature deals combat damage to a player, create a treasure token. This could be viable in potentially like a sacrifice deck or something along those lines too. Imagine having like a greedy freebooter and putting this on it, that'd be pretty nice. And with an equip cost of only 1, that's really not bad if you have the spare mana. We got here another landfall card. Adventuring Gear, 1-drop landfall. Whenever a land you control enters, equip creature Gets +2/+2 until end of turn. Not amazing, but it's essentially only a 2-drop with an equip cost of 1, so I could see this being usable in a landfall deck, but the +2/+2 until end of turn is pretty meh. Don't love it. Cat Collector. Human Citizen. Whenever this creature enters, create a food token. Whenever you gain life for the first time during each of your turns, create a 1/1 cat creature token. So that's interesting. It's a little expensive in my opinion, being a 3/2 for 3. But this could be really fun, especially with, like I said, I know cats have come back in this set with viability. Just looking at it, I don't love this card, but life gain is abundant in white. You could probably have a lot of fun with this one without even needing to do much other than like have it out on the field and gain life. Oh, looks like we got a copy of the new Tiny Bones. I don't know anything about it other than it's in this set, but let's see. Tiny Bones Bauble Burglar. It's 2-drop 1/3, which is pretty great, actually, already. Whenever an opponent discards a card, exile it from their graveyard with a stash counter on it. During your turn, you may play cards you don't own with stash counters on them from exile. And mana of any type can be spent to cast those spells. That is amazing. I actually really like that. Makes a discard deck super fun to play. So yeah, I'll probably make a Tiny Bones Bauble Burglar deck. I may even make like a Rakdos deck that includes like Jasper still. This is also a skeleton rogue, just like the original Tiny Bones from Outlaws, or at least the first one I saw. I don't know that there was one before that, but there might have been. But and then it also has pay for and tap. Each opponent discards a card, activate only as a sorcery. So that's a discard outlet right there as well. I definitely think this card is playable and very interesting, especially when you've got Bandit's Talent and so many discard options right now. This card is super interesting. I think Mono Black even would be just so fun with this card. So yeah. That is a really cool rare I'll probably try to get more of. Doesn't look like... We got one rare here that it's saying I got first. Instant. Target creature gets +3/+0 and gains first strike until end turn for 2. Maybe that could see play in mono red. I don't know. Reclamation Sage. When this creature enters, you may destroy target artifact or enchantment. That's pretty good. It's only a 2/1, but it is an elf. I could definitely see this being played. Artifacts and enchantments very prevalent right now. Enchantments were huge in Duskmourn, and it seems like artifacts are going to be very relevant in this set. Got a turtle. It's not a defender, but it's a 0/5 turtle for 1. That's actually pretty crazy. We got Sanguinary Siphoner here, Vampire Warlock, 2-drop 1/3, which isn't bad. Whenever this creature attacks, each opponent loses 1 life and you gain 1 life. That's really not bad at all. I saw that Pulse Tracker got reprinted in this set too. I don't know if I love Pulse Tracker, but I know I've used it in the past in Modern and really liked it. So this seems similar. Pulse Tracker is obviously a 1-drop 1/1 with the opponent loses life. Very similar to Hired Claw, but probably not as good as Hired Claw. That being said, Pulse Tracker is not a rare, but yeah, Hired Claw deals deals damage whenever a lizard attacks. Pulse Tracker makes the opponent, whenever it attacks, lose 1 life. So potentially interesting, and it's a vampire also, as well as this. This seems good. 1/3 for 2 isn't bad. It's a vampire and it has very good upside. So, see our rare. We have Slagstorm, 3-drop sorcery. Choose one. Slagstorm deals 3 damage to each creature or 3 damage to each player. A 3-drop board wipe isn't bad, but you also already have Brotherhood's End, and I think the fact that you'll be able to get rid of artifacts with Brotherhood's End may make it better than Slagstorm. But Slagstorm does have the ability to finish off a player for you if you get them low enough in an aggro deck or something, so maybe this could be useful, I don't know. Okay, now I know I've seen this card before. Burnished Heart, pay 3, sacrifice this creature, search your library for up to 2 basic land cards, put them onto the battlefield tapped, then shuffle. I didn't remember that it was search for 2. It's not terrible. It is a 3-drop 2/2, which isn't great already, and a 3 pay to sacrifice it's kind of steep, but I mean, for getting 2 land, that's actually pretty good, especially where we're looking at landfall idea potential with this set, so not bad. Burst Lightning, kicker for 4. Looks like it deals 2 damage to any target. If the spell was kicked, it deals 4 damage instead. That's not bad. It's not gonna, I mean, it's a viable replacement for something like Shock, honestly, because the kicker makes it more viable late game. We got another Goblin here. Goblin Pirate Raid. This creature enters the battlefield, or enters with a 1/1 counter on it if you attacked this turn. Not the best raid ability I've seen, especially not for a 3-drop 3/2, but I think it's still probably playable in a Goblin deck because most of those cards are fairly cheap usually. Let's see, we got Think Twice. I remember this card as well. It's a 2-drop draw card with Flashback for 3. Flashback is an ability that I'm very fond of. It's a little expensive being a 2-drop, and then a 3-drop later, but that Flashback really makes it viable. It really does. We got Twin Flame Tyrant, so the game really thinks I want dragons, apparently. Let's see here. It's a 5-drop, 3/5. Little weak in the power department, but a 3/5 with flying isn't bad to begin with, even for 5 mana. If a source you control would deal damage to an opponent or a permanent the opponent controls, it deals double that damage instead. So that's actually very fun, and I could see that being usable with Roller Crusher Ride. I've been trying to think of a good way to make Roller Crusher really interesting or playable, and Burn is a viable way to do that, but this, with that, could be very fun. So, not a bad card. Crypt Feaster? Okay, it's a zombie. I think zombies are going to be fun to play with. It's a 4-drop, which is pretty steep. 3/4. Threshold, whenever this creature attacks, if there are 7 or more cards in your graveyard, this creature gets +2 or +0 until end of turn. I don't love end of turn effects, but it does have Menace, so you're looking at potentially a 5/4 attacker if you have enough cards in your graveyard. And zombies and skeletons tend to do graveyard-related things anyway. We've got Broken Wings, destroy target artifact, enchantment, or creature with flying. I think that's fine, except that it's a 3-drop. I don't love it being a 3-drop. I really feel like you're probably better off just using like a Terror Sunder or something, honestly, in this case. Aetherize, return all attacking creatures to their owner's hand. That's rude. I feel like this is a reprint, but I don't know, but that's just not nice. Don't do that to people. Hidetsugu's, I'm sorry, second right. If target player has exactly 10 life, Hidetsugu's second right deals 10 damage to that player. So a good burn finish off. I would say it'd be good with like the Roller Crusher Ride or that dragon, but it does stipulate that they have to already be at 10 life, so doubling or tripling that damage doesn't really matter. 1,000-Year Storm. Enchantment, 6-drop. Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, copy it for each other instant or sorcery spell you've cast before it this turn. What is that called? Cascade, essentially? Is that what that is? You may choose new targets for the copies of those spells. So Is It Burn could really be potentially viable. That seems interesting. This is expensive, but at the same time, if you're playing like a counter burn deck, which was essentially what Return to Ravnica was like that I'm familiar with, then this is totally doable. A 6 mana, you could even probably run a Chandra or something with this to make it more playable, so yeah. We're on the last basic pack. Did get another rare wild card, got another Goblin, another Skeleton, Adventuring Gear, Giant Growth, obviously isn't new, but is fantastic. 1-drop +3/+3 until end of turn is really good if you're going to use a pump spell. Stab, target creature gets -2/-2 until end of turn for 1. Basically Disfigure. I don't know if this is different at all from Disfigure, except being a different name, but a good card when mono red's so prevalent, and it always is, so this is definitely usable if not good. Let's see, Inspiring Call, draw a card for each creature you control with a +1/+1 counter on it. Those creatures gain indestructible until end of turn. For a 3-drop, this is kind of expensive, but could be good. Card draw in green is really good because it's not common. Indestructible on your creatures is nice as well. It does require you to have +1/+1 counters on it, but you can do that. There are a lot of 1/1 counter cards, Bristly Bill, the Tumblewag. There's lots of stuff that this could actually be paired with really easily. Lunar Insight is a 3-drop sorcery. Draw a card for each different mana value among non-land permanents you control. So, the mana value of non-land permanents you control. So it doesn't require multiple colors. You could put this in a mono blue deck and be just fine. I think that's probably where it's going to be most relevant, but you could easily also put it in mixed color decks. I saw that, what is it called, Tyrellian Terror or something like that, the card that costs less based on instants and sorceries in your graveyard. Pairs really nicely with this in my opinion, so pretty viable. Mono blue might have some love in this as well from the looks of that. Moving on to our Foundations Mythic packs. See what we get. Alright, already. Here's the Terror I was talking about. So yeah, it's a 7-drop normally. Costs 1 less for each instant and sorcery in your graveyard. Has Ward 2. I think this with that Lunar card would be very good, very viable. Refute, pay 3, counter target spell, draw a card, then discard a card. Kind of expensive in my opinion, but not bad, obviously, for a counter spell, because you do get draw off of it as well. Involuntary Employment is a 4-drop, gain control of target creature until end of turn, untap that creature, it gains haste until end of turn, create a treasure token. So it costs 1 more than using the one now that whenever it deals damage creates the treasure. I could see that being good, because at least you get the treasure either way. Not bad, actually. I think this is pretty usable, even though it is a 4-drop. Quake Strider Ceratops. Dinosaur, no abilities, 12/8 for 6. Not terrible. Dinosaurs, still fairly viable, could be interesting. Rite of the Dragon Caller. It's a 6-drop enchantment. Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, create a 5/5 red dragon creature token with flying. Well, this is great, and not just for Azet. I could see this primarily being played in an Azet dragon deck of some kind. Instants and sorcery spells are obviously their bread and butter. That Lunar Eclipse card could go really well with this because this is a permanent. But beyond that, you could even put this in a Rakdos deck, potentially, like if you did a Rakdos Dragon thing. There's still plenty of kill spells and burn spells that you'd be looking at using. Yeah, really cool card. I wasn't familiar with this one, but I like it. Big Fin Bouncer, Shark Pirate. Not familiar with that one either. Bite Down's a reprint. I've seen it before. Target creature you control deals damage equal to its power to target creature or planeswalker you don't control. The fact that this hits a planeswalker is pretty huge. It is a 2-drop, but it's not a fight spell. It's a deal damage spell, so I actually really like this. Got another pirate here, an Orc Pirate, Strongbox Raider. Raid whenever or when this creature enters. If you attacked this turn, exile the top 2 cards of your library. Choose one of them until the end of your next turn. You may play that card. So I love that this says until your end of your next turn. This creature is a 4-drop and is a 5/2. That toughness is a little light, but if you're playing an aggressive deck, that may not matter as much. Yeah, interesting. Pirates definitely seem like they're getting some love. We got a bird here, Strix Lookout. 2-drop, 1/2 flying, Vigilance. Pay 2 and tap it, draw a card, then discard a card. This seems okay to me. It's expensive. I think this could easily be a 1-drop. I would like it better if it didn't even have the draw discard and was a 1-drop card. The Flying Vigilance is nice, but yeah, it's for a 2-drop, I don't know about it. See what our mythic is. Got a Chandra. So I was just talking about how a Chandra can make things more viable to play. So you've got a +2 that adds 3 mana. This is a 7-drop Chandra, but that allows you to, so Exile the top 3 cards of your library, choose one, you may play that card this turn, you get 3 extra mana, so pretty likely you'll get to play it. That is a +2 ability, which is really nice. Create a token that's a copy of target creature you control, except it has haste at the beginning of the end step. Sacrifice this token. I mean, this is a really good ability. Obviously, we've already seen with, what was that card called? That mount that copies creatures and attacks and has haste. Like, this kind of ability is crazy when you've already got stuff like the dinosaur that looks at the top cards of your library and plays one and stuff like that. Enter the battlefield abilities are going to be amazing with this, and there's lots of them. You could even put this with something like the Rotten Mouth Viper. Be devastating. And then, let's see here. Last ability is a -4. Chandra deals 8 damage, divided as you choose among any number of target creatures and or planeswalkers. Again, I love that it hits planeswalkers. That -4 ability is usable as soon as you play it, because it has 6 loyalty to start off with. So yeah, this is a really good card. That gives it an ability to protect itself if you don't necessarily have creatures on board. Seems like a great card. So we have a defender here. I know earlier I saw a card that said it couldn't be blocked by defenders, that Juggernaut. So here is a defender. Has tap for Surveil 1, which is pretty nice on any kind of creature that's ideally just going to sit there and block for you. This thing being a 3-drop kind of sucks, but it has a lot of upside being a 0/6 and having that tap for Surveil, because you can do that on your opponent's end step after they've already attacked on their turn, or even during their attack if you block and know that this is going to die. So that's really useful, and it's not an ability you have to pay into. We got another elf. Well, this isn't a bird, but this one's an elemental. Pretty expensive. Another cat, but I didn't think about it being a green one. What we got here? Heroic Reinforcements, 4-drop in Boros. Create 2 1/1 white soldier creature tokens until end of turn. Creatures you control get +1/+1 and gain haste. It's not terrible. Yeah, it's not bad. The creature tokens stick around at least. Yeah, I don't know. I could see this being used in Boros, but I don't know that it will be better than anything that already exists for them. Sphinx of Forgotten Lore. I feel like that's probably a reprint. 4-drop 3/3 flash flying. Whenever this creature attacks, target instant or sorcery card in your graveyard gains flashback until end of turn. The flashback cost is equal to that card's mana cost. That's pretty good. Obviously, flashback usually is more expensive than the original card's mana cost generally, so just on the fact that it's the same cost as the original mana cost is pretty fantastic. And this is only a 4-drop. I mean, yes, it's a 3/3, but it has flash and flying. Yeah, pretty fantastic card. Okay, got some more stuff here I didn't already have, apparently. I know I have Bloodfell Cave, so this looks like just a reprint, new art, which is fine. Human Archer. What we got here? Gleaming Barrier, another wall defender creature. When this creature dies, create a treasure token. It's only a 2-drop 0/4 that creates a treasure when it dies. I think this is actually a really good defender. A good early one, obviously. Let's see here. Apothecary Stomper. 7-drop Vigilance, 4/4. When this creature enters, choose one, put 2 1/1 counters on target creature you control or gain 4 life. It's pretty expensive for that ability, but if you have a means of putting it out onto the battlefield without playing its mana cost to do so, it's pretty good, because it just says when it enters, not when you cast it. Obviously, there's, what is it, Ikora from Duskmourn, where if it's tapped, you get to put a creature from your hand to the battlefield. I think this is actually a pretty viable card if you could do something along those lines. Reanimator decks, again, potentially could make use of that too. Just a rare wild card on this one, but I'll take that. So if you're wondering too why I went so heavily on mythic rare packs, it's because it is so much easier to get rare wild cards than mythic rare wild cards. So I know I'm getting a lot fewer packs because I decided to basically upcharge myself by getting mythic packs, but that's essentially why I did that. Okay, so a dwarf. What do you do? Target creature gains haste until end of turn, 2-drop 2/2. I don't see really any synergy with that with other dwarves, because I was thinking about Magda, and there's not a lot of Magda stuff, but yeah. I don't know if there's a lot more dwarves in this set, could make that more interesting. Human Scout, Squad Rallier, 4-drop 3/4. Pretty expensive cost for its ability. We do have another bird here, so maybe birds are playable. This is a 4-drop 1/1. Whenever you draw a card, put a 1/1 counter on this creature. I actually think this is pretty usable, based on alone the amount of card draw effects in blue, not to mention that enchantment that is like, whenever you draw cards, you put 1/1 counters on your creatures on the attack step, and it also draws you cards when you play it, so could be absolutely usable with this. Really expensive demon here, Arbiter of Woe. It's a 6-drop 5/4, it's an additional cost to cast the spell, sacrifice a creature. Flying, when this creature enters, each opponent discards a card and loses 2 life. You draw a card and gain 2 life. Those abilities are pretty nice. You could potentially get this card out on the battlefield with a Reanimator effect or something along those lines and skirt the cost altogether. This isn't bad, and I could see it being very good in a Reanimator deck along with like Valgavoth's whatever, little 1-drop creature or whatever that can reanimate, so this actually seems pretty usable. Zimone Paradox Sculptor. Legendary creature, human wizard, 4-drop 1/4. At the beginning of combat on your turn, put a 1/1 counter on each of up to 2 target creatures you control. This is Simic. You can pay 2 and tap, double the number of each kind of counter on up to 2 target creatures and or artifacts you control. Very complicated card. Obviously, I'm sure there's a place for it. I would never play it. I'm not a big fan of Simic, but a very interesting card. I'm sure people will make interesting decks with it. Kind of above my head at the moment, though. Like I said, I don't really play that color combination ever, and so that makes it harder for me to really think of what this would be good for. Obviously, a counter deck, but like a 1/1 counter deck, but you could do a lot with this, I imagine. Got another wild card here. Fake Your Own Death, obviously a reprint, pretty familiar with. Vampire Soul Caller, big fan of vampires, so I'm definitely going to take a moment to look at those when I get them. It is a 5-drop 3/2, which sounds bad. Flying, this creature can't block, all sounds bad. Flying's fine, but the can't block 5-drop 3/2 sounds pretty terrible. When this creature enters, return target creature card from your graveyard to your hand. Still not very good. Yeah, I don't love this vampire at all. Got a legendary creature, Elf Warrior here. Dwynnin, Guiltleaf Dane. 4-drop 3/4, not bad. Reach, which is good. Other elf creatures you control get +1/+1, and whenever it attacks, you gain 1 life for each attacking elf you control. This card's fantastic. If you're playing an elf deck, especially since there are so many new elves or reprinted elves, yeah, this card is definitely going to see use. I 100% believe that. Got another Goblin here, Courageous Goblin, 2-drop 2/2. Whenever this creature attacks while you control a creature with power 4 or greater, this creature gets +1/+0 and gains Menace until end of turn. Doesn't seem great in a Goblin deck, unless there's like a 4-power Goblin that I'm not thinking of, but I don't know. Maybe there would be some viability to this. It is just another Goblin to fill in your deck if there aren't a lot of those. Got a cat here too, Prideful Parent, 3-drop 2/2, Vigilance. Pretty alright, just off that. When this creature enters, create a 1/1 white cat creature token. So 3-drop 3/3 essentially, if you consider it that way, and 2 bodies, and it has Vigilance. Yeah, that's actually a pretty good card, especially for a common. Another one of those Arbiters. Omniscience, or Omniscience, very expensive, but I've seen it cast a million times before. I don't know how playable it'll be in Standard. It allows you to play spells from your hand without paying the mana cost. I can imagine this probably being played in some kind of a deck that cheats it out, very likely. There's that Simic card, that Squirming Emergence. I could probably see it in one of those kind of decks most readily in Standard if it was going to go in one without it being like a super creative deck. Alright, Swiftfoot Boots apparently got reprinted. I've seen that before. Equipped creature has hexproof and haste. Equip cost for 1, 2 drop. Very playable. Very usable. Not bad at all.
If you won't listen to nature, I'll speak on its behalf.
So we got another Planeswalker here. I'm not familiar with this one. Vivian Reed, legendary Planeswalker Vivian. 5 drop, 5 loyalty. Seems pretty good to start off, just looking at that. +1 ability, look at the top 4 cards of your library. You may reveal a creature or land card from among them and put it into your hand. Put the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. Pretty good, +1 ability. I wish it was battlefield instead of hand, but don't we always? But this seems very good, very viable. Especially for the tick-up ability. -3 to start target artifact, enchantment, or creature with flying. That's a really good -3 ability. It's not something that you can spam out frequently, like you could potentially with misses. I think it's artifact and enchantment, but it might just be artifact. But yeah. And then we've got a -8. You get an emblem with creatures you control. Get +2/+2 and have vigilance, trample, and indestructible. That's pretty good. A little hard to get to, I could imagine, with a +1 ability, but this card seems like a very viable Planeswalker. I'm sure people will try and make work. Got a zombie here that I haven't seen yet. Hungry Ghoul, 2 drop, 2/2 zombie, pay 1, sacrifice another creature, put a 1/1 counter on this creature. That seems really good, actually. Zombies are very viable, especially right now with this new set. Sacrifice abilities on zombies and other creatures of those types, or other types of decks where you'll be using this. I could see this being used. This is actually a really good looking common. Dismal Backwater, more land, lots of land. Campus Guide, artifact creature golem, 2 drop, 2/1. When this creature enters, you may search your library for a basic land card, reveal it, then shuffle and put that card on top. I don't like this at all. I don't want it to mess with my draws. At the very worst, it should go into your hand or the battlefield. So yeah, I think this is crap. I wouldn't use this. Obviously, other stuff we've seen. I love Vampire Nighthawk. Valkyrie's Call is a 5 drop enchantment. Whenever a non-token, non-angel creature you control dies, return that card to the battlefield under its owner's control with a 1/1 counter on it. It has flying and is an angel in addition to its other types. So this could be very viable in an angel archetype deck like what I was talking about earlier. This is a pretty cool card. I don't play angels much, but that's very... I could see this being very useful. More land. Bushwhack got reprinted, which is kind of cool. I mean, obviously I'm familiar with this card. It's pretty okay. Not my favorite, but it works. Anything else interesting here? We got a 1 drop 1/1 Goblin Berserker. Whenever this creature attacks, you may pay 1. If you do, target creature can't block this turn. I think this is pretty great. This is a really good card for a Goblin deck if that's the direction you're going. Yeah, this is a really good Goblin you'll probably want. Cathar Commando. I'm pretty sure this is a reprint. I think I've seen this before. The art looks nice. 2 drop 3/1 flash, sacrifice this creature, destroy target artifact or enchantment. This is a good card. This is going to be a really good card to have for this set. Probably would have been a nice card to have for the previous set. We got Witness Protection. I've seen this card before as well. Enchant a creature loses all abilities and is a green and white citizen creature. Base power and toughness 1/1. Yeah, named legitimate business person. Interesting. Yeah, I don't remember the legitimate business person part of the text before, but very familiar with this card. And as a 1 drop, it's a good card. Sanguinate. Each opponent loses X life. You gain life equal to the life lost this way. Really good card, actually. You pay in how much you want it to be gain and drain for. And it pairs really nicely with things that are available right now in the Vampire camp. There is obviously bats as well that can do these things, but like with this, that snake that whenever you gain life, they lose life equal to that. This is actually a really, really good non-rare card to have right now. Doubling Season. This is a reprint, I'm pretty sure. Very popular card that I am almost certain I've heard of before. 5-drop enchantment. If an effect would create one or more tokens under your control, it creates twice that many of those tokens instead. If an effect would put one or more counters on a permanent you control, it puts twice that many counters on it instead. So this is a fantastic card. Would probably pair really well with that Simic Zimone that I saw earlier. Because of the counter portion of the text there, and then obviously really good in a token deck as well. Light Shell Duo. Is this a reprint? Because this seems like it would have come out during the 2 sets ago, the one before Dustmorn. Prowess. When this creature enters, surveil 2, 3/4 for 4. Not a bad card for a common, honestly. Courageous Goblin again. Still don't know how I feel about that one. I haven't seen anything that signified that like a 4-power Goblin is viable. But maybe. I don't know. Luminous Rebuke. 5-drop. This spell costs 3 less to cast if it targets a tapped creature. Destroy target creature. That's not terrible. It's not great as written, but like, I mean, at least it gets cheaper when it's a tapped creature. Imprisoned in the Moon. Enchant creature, land, or planeswalker. Enchanted permanent is a colorless land with tap for colorless and loses all other card types and abilities. That's interesting. I mean, I don't think you'd want to put this on someone's creature or planeswalker, but if it's really a threat, it gets it out of the way. I think this card is most valuable for the fact that you can put it on other people's lands. But that's interesting. Rise of the Dark Realms. This is a reprint, because that art doesn't even look different. I'm familiar with this one. 9-drop card, super expensive. I don't know how you would play this, because it's not a creature, you can't reanimate it. But anyway, put all creature cards from all graveyards onto the battlefield under your control. This is a bomb, that you do this and all of a sudden you control the board. Maybe in a Golgari ramp deck or something this would be really viable, but I just don't know how I would play it. I don't know how I'd make it playable. Alright, the Treetop Snare Spinner. So we got a spider, it's a 4-drop 1/4, which isn't great, but it does have Reach and Death Touch, which makes it pretty great even as a 4-drop, because now, even though it's a 1/4, it has Reach and will kill anything it blocks, so that 4 toughness is pretty nice. Pay 3 and put a 1/1 counter on target creature you control, activate only as a sorcery. It doesn't tap it, and it has to be on your turn, but this thing can get big and block really nicely, so that's not bad at all. Got another one of these vampires. We got Bulk Up, double target creature's power until end of turn with Flashback. The Flashback is expensive. This is one of those kind of cards that could make that Goblin that I've been complaining about viable, though, by doubling its power, doubling something's power. So yeah. Progenitus. Okay, yeah, very expensive big creature. Could be fun in a Reanimator deck, totally. And you know, it has protection from everything. But to play it outright requires all colors. I mean, obviously you could see this in a Domain deck along with Atraxa, something along those lines. That protection from everything is crazy. And if it would be put into the graveyard from anywhere, reveal it and shuffle it back into its owner's library instead. So, maybe not a Reanimator card, but Domain could definitely play this instead of or with Atraxa. Or even, like, you could easily get rid of Valgavoth in that deck, since I know people have started playing that for this. Grappling Kraken, I didn't see this one yet. Landfall, so another landfall card. It's a 6-drop 5/6, which is pretty expensive. When a land you control enters, tap target creature an opponent controls and put a stun counter on it. That landfall ability is kind of mad, but this card's actually pretty good, all things considered, in a landfall deck, because you're going to be ramping in that deck almost definitely. So we got a Mythic Wild card now. Dragon Trainer. When this creature enters, create a 4/4 red dragon creature token with flying. It is a 5-drop, but you're getting 5 power and toughness out of it, so it's not terrible if you're going to do something dragon related. We got another goblin. Like I said, I think this goblin's probably usable. Didn't get anything else too crazy here to check out. Another Rise of the Dark Realms. It knows that I don't know what to do with that card, so it's giving them to me. Quick Draw Katana. 2-drop equipment artifact with an equip of 2. During your turn, equipped creature gets +2/+0 and has first strike. Does mean it sucks kind of on your opponent's turn, but honestly, +2/+0 and first strike is really good. It's a little expensive, but probably usable. Vanishing Light, I've seen this card. This is a reprint. When this enchantment enters, exile target non-land permanent the opponent controls until this enchantment leaves the battlefield. Pretty common type of card to begin with, even if this wasn't a reprint, but yeah. We got an Angel here, Angel of Finality. 4-drop 3/4 flying. Whenever this creature enters, exile target player's graveyard. Probably pretty good, actually. Especially if you're doing an Angel Archetype deck like we've seen there's some viability for. Valkyrie's Call, so here's a card to go with that. It wants me to do it. It wants me to make an Angel deck, I think. Alright, anything interesting here? This seems interesting. Elf Warlock in those Golgari colors, like I had mentioned. 3/4 Morbid at the beginning of your end step. If a creature died this turn, choose 1. So you get to do one of these if a creature died. And this is a 3/4 creature for 4. Not bad, not bad. Gain 2 life or draw a card and lose 1 life. I think this is probably pretty viable, especially if you're doing Golgari Elves. This is probably pretty good. Cephalid Ink Mage, Octopus Wizard, 2/2 for 3. When this creature enters Surveil 3 threshold, this creature can't be blocked as long as there are 7 or more cards in your graveyard. I don't love it, but it's probably pretty usable in a mono blue deck, like a tempo deck or something along those lines that draws a lot of cards, gets a lot of instants and sorceries in their graveyard. So probably usable, but I don't love it. Got another one of those Zamones. Like I said, I probably won't use this, but at least the game's giving me stuff, I guess. This is what I hate, is I'm getting so many cards from these packs, but it's stuff I'll probably never use. Okay, got an Infestation Sage. This is an Elf Warlock, like I said, so there is some potential for Golgari Elves, apparently, the more I keep seeing stuff. There's a cat here, I guess. 4-drop 2/3 with lifelink. When this creature enters, put a 1/1 counter on each of up to 2 other target creatures you control. I don't love it, but it's probably usable. Cackling Prowler, Hyena Rogue, 4/3 for 4. Ward 2, Morbid at the beginning of your end step. If a creature died this turn, put a 1/1 counter on this creature. That's not bad. That's not terrible. It's expensive, but it's green at least. You could get to it probably. So this one at least says other creatures you control with flying get +1/+1. So this is pretty interesting, especially with that Azorius card I got earlier that made 1/1 spirits with flying as well. So those could be interesting together, and it's a 3-drop 2/3, which isn't bad. Another one of these Sphinxes, like I said, pretty good card altogether. You can tell the pace of the video is kind of picking up at this point. We're getting to see a lot more cards that we have seen previously, so I'm not having to go over them as much. But anyway, here's another vampire I've seen. I'm really interested in this one. It's a common 3-drop 3/2, which doesn't sound fantastic, but whenever you gain life, each opponent loses 1 life. So it kind of sucks that it is only 1 life that they lose whenever you gain life, but this card's potentially very viable, especially when you take it into consideration with like that Exsanguinate that I saw earlier and stuff. So I think this card is going to be fun to use in a vampire deck as well, especially if you pair it with like Bran or something like that. You're getting lots of opportunities to gain and drain. Rogue's Passage, this is a reprint. Tap 4 colorless, pay 4 and tap, target creature can't be blocked this turn. Overrun, I think this is a reprint as well. It's a 5-drop, creatures you control get +3/+3 and gain trample till end of turn. This can be a I win kind of card to play, so it's not bad to see either. Got a Mythic Wild card, which isn't bad. I'm kind of taking that as a better alternative over what it's been giving me. Ruby got reprinted. I didn't expect that, but that's a fun card, so not bad to see. This is something I haven't seen yet. Run away together, choose 2 target creatures, control... Oh, so this is a reprint as well, and I don't like this card at all, but the art looks nice. Muldrotha the Gravetide. So I'm not familiar with this card. I think it's in a reprint, but I could be wrong. It's very interesting. 6-drop, 6/6. During each of your turns, you may play a land and cast a permanent spell of each permanent type from your graveyard. That's crazy. Not very expensive and totally easy to get out with some form of reanimator. This is in colors where you could use that reanimator card that I mentioned earlier that I can't remember. My brain's melting from all these cards reading over, but this is actually probably a very playable card that makes your graveyard come alive, so this could be interesting. Another rare wild card. Another vampire. Helpful Hunter. Fiery Annihilation. Deals 5 damage to target creature. Exile up to 1 target equipment attached to that creature. If that creature would die this turn, exile it instead. 3 mana. This could be really interesting. We've seen a lot of equipments in this that are kind of a pain in the butt. I don't think you're going to be getting rid of like a Swiftfoot Boots with it because it gives the creature hexproof. But if you're playing Rakdos, then you can actually play Nowhere to Run with this, and that's crazy. It's only a 3-drop for 5 damage. I think this is a pretty decent card, actually. Another Chandra. Already analyzed this card, but that's cool to get another one. I love getting Planeswalkers, even if I don't use them. Okay, don't see anything new here. Quilled Great Worm. 6-drop, 7/7 with Trample. Whenever a creature you control deals combat damage during your turn, put that many 1/1 counters on it. It has to survive to get the counters, which seems obvious to me. You may cast this card from your graveyard by removing 6 counters from among creatures you control in addition to paying its other costs. So this actually seems really good. It immediately starts making all of your creatures big threats, and even if they get rid of it, if it's been there long enough to put 1/1 counters on your other things, or is I mean, there's lots of 1/1 counter cards that we've already seen. Doubling Season, for example, and I already mentioned you got like Bristly Bill, you got the Ornery Tumblewag. You've got a lot of stuff that could really make this card go nuts. Okay, we do have something here. Spitfire Lagak. It's a lizard with landfall. A 4-drop 3/4. Whenever a land you control enters, this creature deals 1 damage to each opponent. Overall, I don't like it. You've got it's red, which is already kind of takes it out of what I would normally think of for landfall colors. And then you've still got the lizard that basically does this. That is a 1-drop, or you can pay 3 and get 2 of them. So yeah, I'm not a fan. Not a fan of this one, given alternatives anyway. Right of the Dragon Caller once again. So again, this is, I mean, it's kind of leaning me towards some dragons. Maybe I'll end up playing the dragon deck for once. So Reassembling Skeleton's a reprint, I'm pretty sure. 2-drop 1/1, pay 2 to return this card from the graveyard to the battlefield tapped. It's not bad, actually, especially in a sacrifice deck. I think there may potentially be better options in Standard currently, but seeing this reprinted is interesting. We've got another Angel here, Dazzling Angel, 3-drop 2/3. Whenever another creature you control enters, you gain 1 life. I think that's pretty viable, and it has flying. So for a common, this is actually pretty good. Uncharted Voyage, 4-drop instant. Target creature's owner puts it on their choice of the top or bottom of their library and surveil 1. It's kind of like that Whale's ability, right? But I don't like that very much personally for 4. Got another Twin Flame Tyrant, so I'm just racking in the dragons. Courageous Goblin again. Nothing else new here, it doesn't look like. Brazen Scourge is a gremlin. That art is very interesting. It almost looks like an anteater. Anyway, 3-drop, 3/3 with haste. Pretty simple, pretty usable, I guess, if you needed to, but I don't think it's fantastic or outstanding in any way. Niv-Mizzet Visionary. 6-drop, 5/5 flying. It is a dragon. You have no maximum hand size. Whenever a source you control deals non-combat damage to an opponent, you draw that many cards. This card's very good with that other dragon enchantment that I've been getting. I think it was an enchantment anyway, when you pay an instant or sorcery spell, you get a dragon. So yeah, pairs very good with this, very good in a Zet deck. Got another Angel here, 2-drop, 1/3, which is good, because if you're going to play an Angel archetype, you need some cheaper ones. It's flying. When another Angel you control enters, put a 1/1 counter on this creature. So yeah, this is a really, really good Angel, actually. Very viable to use in an Angel archetype deck, I should say. Elemental Adept. I'm pretty sure this is a reprint. It's a 2-drop, 2/1 flash prowess. So not bad, not amazing. Like I said, I think it's a reprint. That sounds familiar. Ooh, we got a Liliana.
I'd just surrender right now.
So I'm not gonna lie, I'm excited to get Liliana because I love playing black, and so getting this is something I wanted, even if I wasn't going out of my way for it. But anyway, 6-drop, 6 loyalty, legendary planeswalker Liliana. Liliana, Death Horde General. Whenever a creature you control dies, draw a card, which is fantastic. +1, create a 2/2 black zombie creature token, which is good. That's really good. Each player sacrifices 2 creatures of their choice with a -4, which is pretty good too, because that helps you defend, and it's usable right away. And then the -9 ability, each opponent chooses a permanent they control of each permanent type and sacrifices the rest. So if your opponent's running a lot of variety of things, creatures, planeswalkers, enchantments, artifacts, you can make them start getting rid of a lot of that stuff. Very fun looking card though. I think just on the +1 ability and the draw whenever a creature dies ability alone, this is a very usable card, even though it is a bit expensive, mana-wise. Another rare wild card coming in. Llanowar Elves got reprinted. This is a really good card. Like, really, really good card in any green deck, not even just elf decks. So, and with elves being an archetype that's playable again, this is going to see a lot of use. This thing, I don't think I've seen yet. Brindborn Cutthroat, 2-drop, 2/1 flash. Whenever you cast a spell during an opponent's turn, put a 1/1 counter on this creature. That seems pretty good. It's a merfolk and a pirate. Pirates seem pretty doable. I don't know how doable merfolk are. Here's another pirate right here, in fact, also with flash, so it plays very well with that. Flash flying, pay 4 and draw a card, but as a 1-drop, 1/1 with flash, that's not bad.
If you want a better world, then fight for it.
Got another planeswalker here with Kaito, Cunning Infiltrator, 3-drop, 3 loyalty, which isn't bad, actually. It's something you can get out pretty early, which is pretty nice. Whenever a creature you control deals combat damage to a player, put a loyalty counter on Kaito, so it's going to start ramping up quick, probably even on the turn that you play it. This thing, in my opinion, seems really nice. Up to 1 target creature you control can't be blocked this turn, draw a card, then discard a card. So that's pretty good. Guaranteed to get you some loyalty on top of the +1 from the effect. -2, create a 2/1 blue ninja creature token, so it can also populate tokens for you, though I don't know how much I would do that. Maybe on the turn it's played if you didn't already have something out to start attacking with, or block to defend it. And -9, you get an emblem with whenever a player casts a spell, you create a 2/1 blue ninja creature token. So that's crazy. That means any spell, creatures, instants, sorceries, enchantments, artifacts that you or your opponents play will give you a creature. That is really fantastic ability, and honestly, I think it's entirely possible to do it based on that very top ability. That's whenever a creature you control deals combat damage to a player. So it could happen multiple times in a turn as far as I can see from that wording. So this thing's loyalty could climb extremely quickly and give you that ability probably very easily. Got some more lands. Another dinosaur. This is a white one I haven't seen. 5-drop 4/4 vigilance. Whenever you attack with 3 or more creatures, put a 1/1 counter on target creature you control. We got another elf here. Dunan's Elite. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right. 2-drop 2/2. When this creature enters, if you control another elf, create a 1/1 green elf creature token. Very good, actually, because you could just play Llanowar Elves into this and be set already. So yeah, that's a really good card. I feel like I'm gonna have to make some elves. Another Progenitus. I doubt I'll ever play this card, but it's interesting to see. Alright, looks like we got a few things we haven't already seen here. I think I saw all of these, but we got Heir Apparent. This is a reprint from a very recent set. In fact, I don't know why they'd be reprinting it, but there you go. When this creature enters, create a token. Maybe it's not a reprint, actually. Maybe it just goes with the rabbits, but looks like it would have been already. But anyway, so if you're playing a rabbit tribal deck, which you could still very easily do, especially with how recently those were kind of worked out. Anyway, 2-drop 2/2. When this creature enters, create a number of 1/1 white rabbit creature tokens equal to the number of other creatures you control named Heir Apparent. A deck can have any number of cards named Heir Apparent. So you can use any number of these that you want. And it just makes rabbits for you. This may even, in fact, be better late game than Hop to It or something along those lines. It's cheaper too, so pretty interesting actually. If you're playing rabbits, this is probably a really good card. Billowing Shriek Mass, 4-drop 2/3 black creature spirit, flying. When this creature enters, mill 3 cards. Threshold: this creature gets +2/+1 as long as there are 7 or more cards in your graveyard. Doesn't seem bad. At least it lends to help you get more stuff in your graveyard, and if you're playing skeletons and stuff, you could possibly reanimate them. This doesn't seem like a horrible card. It is a little bit expensive, especially for a 3/2 or a 2/3. Another Niv-Mizzet. Okay, not a lot new here, which is fine. Based on what I've been getting, games like you need to play elves, you need to play goblins, you need to play angels, you need to play dragons. I've gotten some vampires, which I want to play, but they're not really leaning into it. Let's see, we got Revenge of the Rats, 4-drop sorcery. Create a tapped 1/1 black rat creature token for each creature card in your graveyard, and it has flashback for 4. This actually seems really good. Especially like there was that spirit that we just saw. There's lots of cards that can mill yourself, and there's lots of rats like that are actually like rat decks are totally viable. You could put this in a rat deck and potentially get some fun from that, like a Dimir one even. But yeah, so I don't dislike this card at all. This one actually seems pretty good. Got another Chandra. So the game's telling me I really must play Chandra because now I almost have a playset. Which I will say, it's fun that I've had luck at least with getting Planeswalkers, because like I said, I do like getting Planeswalkers, and I do want to use them where I can. Alright, so we got a couple more new things here. I didn't mention it before, but they reprinted Pilfer. Not the biggest fan of this card, but it's okay. Let's see here. We got Incinerating Blast, which is a sorcery. 5-drop Incinerating Blast deals 6 damage to target creature. You may discard a card if you do draw a card. I don't like this. It's probably usable, but I don't think it's good. Especially not for a 5-drop. It's pretty bad, in my opinion. We got Meteor Golem, a 7-drop 3/3 artifact creature golem. When this creature enters, destroy target non-land permanent and opponent controls. I think this is pretty bad. Like, I'll be honest. So it's a kill spell, a destroy spell, which is good. And you could reanimate it or something, sure. But a 7-drop 3/3 is pretty bad. Pretty not good. We got another Sire of 7 Deaths. Again, I think this card could be really fun, especially in a deck where you're aiming to get it in your graveyard. So I may try to make a deck with this just for fun. Alright, so we are out of our normal packs and our mythic packs. We have 3 golden packs left, and I will get at least one more rare wild card out of this, so this has been some fun so far for me. I hope you guys are enjoying it. I haven't done pack openings in the past, and I know I didn't go through it quickly, necessarily, but maybe you got a little bit of my insight into what I think about some of the cards that I've seen. But anyway, let's get into these gold packs. So, Duskmourn card, Tale of Tameo. I didn't play with this card, but it's interesting, and if you're doing something graveyard related, this can really fill it up quickly. Do be careful not to mill yourself out with it, though, because it's totally doable. Treasure Map. This is actually a really good card that I don't think I have had. I don't have very many Lost Caverns Vixilon cards because I didn't play during that set on Arena, but this is actually a really good card. Anthem of Champions. This is a new one. Creatures you control get +1/+1, and it is a 2-drop for Selesnya. This is actually a really, really good card in my opinion. I don't know what I would play it in because I don't really play Selesnya, and I do have a Selesnya enchantment deck. Maybe I would use it in that because it is an enchantment. But Lush Portico. Obviously, this isn't new. What is that? I can't remember that set name. Murders at Karlov Manor or something like that. Wasn't a big fan of that set, but this is a land that I don't already have a full set of, and I like it. So we were just talking about Selesnya. I think this card would be better in a Selesnya tokens deck, though, if you're going to be doing that.
There's something almost feral about this city.
Got another Vivian. So really, the game is being generous for Planeswalkers for me. And a Bonehorde Dracosaur. Like I said, I didn't play much during Lost Caverns Vixilon, but because I got so many dragon stuff, I actually really like that I got this. I could use a couple of these. Alright, next pack. Do get our rare wild card here. Solemn Simulacrum. People are going to be playing this, I think. I have already seen it being used in like Selesnya artifact decks. It's a 4-drop 2/2, which I think on its own is bad, but when you look at the rest of it, when this creature enters, you may search your library for a basic land card, put that onto the battlefield, tap, then shuffle. When this creature dies, you may draw a card. I don't think it's fantastic, because you're only getting a 2/2 for 4, but in those artifact decks we're playing, it gets you something like a 7/7 just because you played another artifact. This is actually fine. Not to mention it gets some of the land out of your deck, which you don't want to draw, and it draws you a card when it dies, so you don't mind losing it if it dies. So, not a bad card, obviously. Hellspur Posse Boss, Thunder Junction card. Probably not terribly relevant for the stuff going on right now. I'm shocked I didn't already have a playset of these, to be honest. Banner of Kinship, new artifact from the new set. 5 mana. As this artifact enters, choose a creature type. The artifact enters with a fellowship counter on it for each creature you control of the chosen type, and creatures you control of the chosen type get +1/+1 for each fellowship counter on this artifact. So that seems really interesting and really good with something like the Solemn Simulacrum. Flamewake Phoenix, 3-drop 2/2 with flying and haste. So maybe usable in mono red. This creature attacks each combat if able, ferocious, I'm sorry. At the beginning of combat on your turn, if you control a creature with power 4 or greater, you may pay 1 red. If you do, return this card from the graveyard to the battlefield. Maybe viable. I don't think it's great, but I could see this being used in a mono red deck, because late game this could come back and possibly win the match for you, especially since it has flying and haste. Abuela's Awakening. I'm not a fan of this card, and I'm not really going to talk about it much, because it's obviously been used plenty, but there you go. There was an instant win combo with it, and Rakdos joins up, that I'm sure most people that have played this game during Outlaws are familiar with, so I'm not a fan of this card. Ooh, Vampire Bloodthirsty Conqueror. So this is a card that I did want, so I'm happy I've gotten at least one of it, especially with my wild cards. It's very likely that I'm going to end up getting at least one more to play in decks. I probably wouldn't run more than 2 or 3 of them anyway in a deck, but it's cool to see. 5-drop, 5/5, Vampire Knight, Flying Death Touch. Whenever an opponent loses life, you gain that much life. So I think this card is fantastic, and I will be using it in a vampire deck. Like I said, I don't know that I would run a full 4 of it anyway, just because it's a 5-drop, but very good card, and I'm super, super happy I got one. We're on our last pack here. See what we got. So another Zephyr Awakener. Like I mentioned earlier, this thing does seem to have some synergy with some other Azorius cards that we've seen, because it does have the ability to create those 1/1 flyers. It does have flying itself. Slag Storm again. Emberheart Challenger. I don't play mono red, so it's actually hilarious to me that I just got this. As you can see, it says first. I just do not play this card or mono red. Commercial District. I'm actually pretty happy to get that. I love getting lands whenever available, so I don't have to craft them. Dragonhawk Fate's Tempest. This is actually a really good card. I think I already had a couple, but yeah, I'm nowhere near a play set, I'm sure. It is a bird dragon, so another dragon if you're going to play a dragon archetype deck to maybe consider. I'll go over it just because of that. It is a 5-drop 5/5 with flying. Whenever Dragonhawk enters or attacks, exile the top X cards of your library, where X is the number of creatures you control with power 4 or greater. You may play those cards until the end of your next turn, or your next end step, I should say. At the beginning of your next end step, Dragonhawk deals 2 damage to each opponent for each of those cards that are still exiled. So I'm pretty sure I had this at least as a 2 of, if not a 3 of, in my Legends deck. I think it was Naya Legends that I played not too long ago. That you could get this card out and get some crazy triggers off of it from playing it in that deck, and so it was one of my kill conditions in that deck that I could stumble across. Kellen the Kid, Outlaws of Thunder Junction card, 3/3 flying lifelink. Not going to go over that one, it's not new. So that's it for my packs, pack opening as well. I hope you guys enjoyed this. Like I said, it's a bit long, I know, but I don't have any decks built yet to think of to play until I really get into this. And you guys can see the cards I get, what kind of luck I have. I got a lot of Planeswalkers. I didn't get a lot of stuff that I do want particularly, but I mean, it was very fun to look at these cards because, like I said, I hadn't been too terribly spoiled for them yet. I haven't been looking a lot at spoilers or anything like that. So you got my insight into what I think about a lot of the cards that I received, at least. Anyway, if you did like this, thank you for joining me, and hopefully soon I'll have some more gameplay videos to get into, but that'll be it for today.